What's up everyone, today we'll be comparing the Native Americans from Red Dead Revolver, their lore and their history, and compare it to real history of the Old West. Let's begin by talking about the general history of the tribes of the game, and then the individual characters. The following is from Sheriff Bartlett's journal in the game, as well as the Red Dead Wiki. Bear Mountain was the original homeland of the Red Wolf tribe. The bones of the tribe's ancestors rest in the sacred woods on the northern slopes of the mountain. Songs call the bear in the mountain to protect the spirits of the ancestors from the trickster coyote. Chief Running Moon tells me that whenever black elk hunting parties trample over the graves of the Red Wolf tribe on the sacred burial grounds of Bear Mountain, ancient hostilities renew. The Red Wolf are deadly fighters, but few in number and poor in gold. The future isn't looking good for them unless something changes soon. The Black Elk tribe were driven from a great people into thugs doing Diego's work. Black Elk and Red Wolf were always rivals, but they never violated sacred places until Diego arrived. It seems like Bear Mountain was always a point of contention for both tribes, and though they always had an ongoing rivalry, the discovery of gold in the mountain and General Diego/Governor Griffin's involvement ignited it further. Diego gave the Black Elk tribe weapons and gold, changing the ancient balance of power. Worse, Diego wouldn't stop digging, leading to the threat that the ancient burial grounds would be dug up for the gold beneath it. Now those like Griffin and Diego destroy the land and supply the aggression of the Black Elks. The frontier is moving further west each year, and the Indians always seem to get the short end of the stick. Now that we have a general understanding of the tribal history in Red Dead Revolver, let's look at some of the characters. Chief Running Moon is the leader of the Red Wolf tribe, and also Red Harlow and Shadow Wolf's grandfather. Chief Running Moon knew that there was gold in Bear Mountain. The thing is, he had too much respect for his ancestors and the ways of his people to disturb the places that they had considered sacred. Running Moon and Nate Harlow weren't talking much when Nate and Griff discovered the gold, otherwise the chief might have been able to stop all this from happening. When Diego showed up, things turned bad for the chief. When Diego went to the Grizzly and the Black Elk, things turned much worse. Falling Star is Chief Running Moon's daughter and Red Harlow's mother. Chief Running Moon doesn't say much about his daughter, Falling Star. I guess marrying a man against the wishes of the elders and getting killed on account of it has hardened his heart. It's not easy to guess the mind of a woman, especially a dead one, but I think she'd be proud to see the warrior that her son has become. Shadow Wolf is cousin to Red Harlow and Chief Running Moon's grandson. Shadow Wolf always preferred hunting and scouting on his own. When Chief Running Moon told Shadow Wolf he couldn't visit his cousin Red Harlow anymore, he drifted even further away. But the tribe always respected him for his amazing woodcraft and is never backing down to an insult, especially from the Black Elk tribe. His final deeds drove the Black Elk away and ended the desecration of Bear Mountain. Shadow Wolf became more famous in death than he ever was in life. There seemed to be some distance between the members of the Red Wolf tribe, especially when Falling Star fell in love with Nate Harlow, who probably seemed like an outsider and maybe a threat to some in the tribe. Once Colonel Darren and his men killed Nate and Falling Star, it hurt the chief deeply, which only distanced some of the remaining members like Shadow Wolf even more. This is from the Standing Snake journal entry. I guess Indians are like most other folk. Some are decent folk, and some will do anything for gold. Standing Snake is one of the latter. He and the rest of the Black Elk tribe have made out pretty good in helping General Diego keep folks away from Bear Mountain and the surrounding territories. Grizzly leads the Black Elk tribe in a long-time feud with the Red Wolf tribe. Grizzly agreed to use his warriors to keep people away from Diego's gold mine in exchange for gold and various items that led folks astray. He used the weapons Diego supplied to drive the Red Wolf people from their sacred places around Bear Mountain. It seems like the individuals from the Black Elk saw the opportunity from the gold and weapons given to them by General Diego to take out the Red Wolf, who they always saw as a threat, and to claim Bear Mountain for themselves, which they were probably always wanting. Now that we have covered the tribes and the individuals from the game, we can compare this to a series of events from Western history. The conflicts between the Crow tribe and the Lakota and Cheyenne. There were already conflicts between the tribes before European arrival, for hunting grounds and other resources. European contact intensified the conflict between the tribes. These conflicts gradually pushed the Crow westward away from their original territory. In 1800 or 1801, 30 Dakotas were killed by the Crow, according to a Lakota winter count of Long Dog. Winter counts are pictorial calendars where tribal records and events are recorded. A failed Cheyenne raid, 1819. The Cheyenne had tried to capture the horses of a Crow camp, but were defeated. About 30 or so Cheyenne warriors were killed. The Tongue River Massacre of 1820. This happened as part of retaliation for the failed Cheyenne raid of the previous year. The Lakota and Cheyenne came together and attacked a Crow camp that had about 30 teepees. All of the men of the camp were killed, all of the horses were captured, and the women and children were also taken captive. Apparently on the way back to their Powder River camp, there was a disagreement between the Lakota and the Cheyenne over how the estimated 100 captives would be divided. During the heated confrontation, an unknown number of Crow women and children were killed. This massacre had a devastating effect on the Crow. It made them weaker to defend against the oncoming expansion of the Lakota, Cheyenne, Arapaho, and the Americans. The Fort Laramie Treaty of 1851. This agreement was signed by the Lakota, Crow, United States, and 6 other nations. The treaty was supposed to establish the tribal territories. It also allowed the United States to construct roads and forts within those territories. Unfortunately, more conflicts between the tribes occurred, which culminated with the Lakota expanding further into Crow territory. In the mid-1860s, the Lakota were attacking those on the Bozeman Trail, which passed through the Powder River bison habitat. Even though this area was designated for the Crows, these attacks were still prominent and more occurring. These attacks are also called Red Cloud's War. The Army built forts to protect the trail, and the Crows cooperated with them. Second Fort Laramie Treaty, 1868. In this year, a new treaty was drafted, and the Powder River area, which was previously Crow territory, was now essentially given to the Lakota. Later on that year, the Crow had to surrender even more of their eastern territory due to pressure from the United States and increased American settlement. After getting peace with the United States after the Second Treaty, the Lakota returned their focus to intertribal war. Raids against the Crow were more frequent by the Lakota and their allies, such as the Northern Cheyenne and Arapaho. Later on, Crow chief Plenty Coups recalled, "The 3 worst enemies our people had were combined against us." In April of 1870, the Lakota fought a war group of 30 Crow. Most of the Crow were killed, and the Lakota lost about 14 warriors. Also, Chief Sitting Bull took part in this battle. Due to these increased attacks, the Crow allied with the United States in the Great Lakota War from 1876 to 1877. 23 Crow enlisted as Army scouts. Notable Crows such as Medicine Crow and Plenty Coups participated in the Rosebud Battle, along with 160 other Crow warriors. There were a few Crow scouts at the Battle of Little Bighorn, which took place in the Crow Reservation, and led to the defeat of United States forces by Lakota, Dakota, Arapaho, and Cheyenne. In January of 1877, 3 Crow participated in the Battle of Wolf Mountain, which was the last battle of the Great Lakota War. The end result was the Lakota losing territory such as the Black Hills, as well as some of what they gained from the Crow, and most of them being put on reservations. There are many similarities between the tribal conflict in the game and the tribal conflict in history, such as, both of them had pre-existing rivalries that got worse once an external entity was involved. The Red Wolf and Black Elk always hated each other, but the discovery of gold in the Red Wolf ancestral homeland only made the rivalry worse, especially once General Diego was giving the Black Elk weapons and gold, which made it harder for the Red Wolf to defend their homeland. Likewise, the Crow and the Lakota/Cheyenne had a pre-existing rivalry that worsened once there was contact with the Europeans, especially due to different tribes allying with different European powers, in exchange for guns, horses, etc. It shifted the balance if a tribe got more weapons, horses, or support from that European country. The discovery of gold in the Black Hills, and through the Bozeman Trail, only created more chaos with American involvement. And then the other similarity was, both of them had a tribe that was gradually driven away from their ancestral homeland. The Red Wolf were driven away from Bear Mountain, due to the discovery of gold. The Crow were driven away from their ancestral homeland, and gradually lost more territory as time passed. Due to events like the Tongue River Massacre, they lost a lot of their numbers, which made it harder to defend, as well as the Lakota, Cheyenne, and Arapaho allying against them in many conflicts and raids. It was also due to the discovery of gold along the Bozeman Trail, which the United States used to pressure them out of their newer territory as well. And that's it, everyone. That's the similarities between the Black Elk and Red Wolf, and the Cheyenne, Lakota, and the Crow. So, I hope you guys enjoy. I was going through history like this, because some of this stuff I knew, but some of it I didn't. I knew some of this happened, but I didn't know the exact extent of it. Yeah, it's just crazy to see how many similarities. Now, I don't know if Rockstar was inspired by this or not, but I think that we can always draw parallels and see similarities in, games and movies and stuff with real history. And hopefully it encourages people to learn more real history. So, anyway, I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you next time.